Let's talk about plastic. On one hand, it's a miracle of invention, right? It's given us everything from life-saving medical devices to making our cars lighter. But on the other hand, it's become a total menace, choking our oceans and, get this, even ending up inside our own bodies. So today, we're going to dive into this paradox, our complete dependence on something that's now a full-blown planetary crisis.
To really wrap our heads around this, we're going to make this huge global issue super personal. We're going to start right at the beginning with your morning. No, seriously, think about it for a second. From the moment you wake up, where's the plastic? I'm willing to bet it's in way more places than you realize, often hiding in plain sight. Okay, so some of these are pretty obvious, like the lid on your coffee cup. But what about the bristles on your toothbrush, or the synthetic fibers that are literally woven into the clothes you're wearing right now? Even the dashboard and all the trim inside your car. It's everywhere. So integrated into our lives, we barely even notice it anymore.
So how did we even get here? How did this wonder material become so inescapable? To figure that out, we've got to zoom out and take a quick look at the history.
Just look at how fast this all happened. In 1907, we get bakelite, the first truly synthetic plastic. By the 1950s, boom, it's the poster child for convenience, wrapping up everything we buy. But then, just 20 years later, in the 70s, the first environmental alarm bells start to ring. And today, well, today we are living in a completely different world because of it. 400 million tons. That's the amount of new plastic we churn out every single year. To try and put that number into perspective, that's about the same weight as every single human being on the planet combined. The scale is just staggering. And this quote, right here, this gets to the very heart of the paradox. The one quality that made plastic so amazing, its incredible durability, the fact that it lasts forever, is the very same thing that makes it an environmental nightmare. It doesn't really go away. It just breaks down into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces. So where does all this stuff that never disappears actually end up? A terrifying amount of it finds its way into one place in particular, our oceans. Now, that might sound like a crazy question, maybe something from a sci-fi movie. But the reality of what's happening with ocean plastic is way more personal and honestly way more disturbing than most of us think. Yeah, you heard that right. It turns out we are now consuming the equivalent of a credit card's worth of tiny plastic particles every single week. These microplastics are in our drinking water, in our food, even in the air we're breathing. The invisible has become ingestible. And the path from a piece of litter to our lunch is actually shockingly simple. Think about it. A single bottle gets dropped on the street. It gets washed into a storm drain, travels through our rivers, and eventually hits the ocean. Out there, the sun and the waves break it down into those tiny pieces. A fish comes along and mistakes it for food. And then that fish ends up on our plates. It's a direct line from our trash can to our dinner table. Okay, so that's a pretty bleak picture, I know. But it's not the whole story. There is a huge wave of innovation happening trying to solve this crisis. But here's the thing. These solutions often come with their own catches. And there are some genuinely brilliant ideas out there. We're talking about packaging made from mushrooms that just decomposes in your garden, water pods made from seaweed that you can actually eat, new kinds of plastics grown from corn and algae. There are even scientists developing special enzymes that can literally eat plastic to help us recycle it better. There's a ton of hope in these labs. But here's that catch I mentioned. A lot of those cool bioplastics, they won't actually break down in your backyard compost bin. They need these huge industrial composting facilities that most cities and towns just don't have. And recycling? Well, for all the effort we put in, the global plastic recycling rate is still less than 10%. So innovation by itself just isn't the magic bullet we're hoping for. So all of this brings us to the final and most critical question. Because this isn't just a technology problem. It's about the choices we all make and what kind of future we actually want to build. When you boil it all down, it seems like we have three main paths forward. Path 1, we could get really aggressive, ban single-use plastics, and fully embrace all those new alternatives. Path 2, we could pour money and brainpower into a tech solution, a moonshot to make plastic truly infinitely recyclable. Or there's Path 3, business as usual, where production keeps climbing and we face some really devastating consequences. You know, the hard truth is we might never get rid of plastic completely. It's just too useful, too woven into the fabric of our modern world.
So maybe the ultimate question isn't about how we eliminate it, but how we reinvent our relationship with it. How do we shift from a relationship of crisis to one of consciousness? That is the plastic paradox, and it's one we all have a part to play in solving.